Lake Bodom is a beautiful and quiet lake near the city of Espoo in Finland, surrounded by thick forests and gentle hills. It's a favorite spot for people who love the outdoors. Visitors come here to camp, fish, swim, and enjoy nature's peace. The water is calm and clear, reflecting the green trees around it, creating a scene that feels like a perfect getaway from busy city life. However, this peaceful place also hides a dark and mysterious story that has puzzled and fascinated people for many years. This is one of Finland's most famous unsolved cold case. Four teenagers, Sippo Boisman, Nils Gustafsson, and their girlfriends, Ermeli Björklund, Tuli Kimaki, went camping on the shores and having a great time at Lake Bodom. They set up their tent by the water, excited for a fun camping trip. They spent the day laughing, swimming, and exploring the beautiful surroundings. They enjoyed the warm sun and the fresh air, feeling free and happy. As the evening came, they built a campfire, sharing stories and enjoying snacks under the brilliant sky, and the sounds of nature made everything feel peaceful and perfect. While they talked about their dreams and plans, the beauty of the lake and the joy of being together made it a night to remember. But this perfect day and the joy they felt would soon take a tragic path that will change everything, and only one of them will remain alive. The birds had fallen silent. The sun starts to vanish, and the people who were around them are gone. Darkness will be their fifth friend. They were alone. In the early hours of June 5th, between 4 and 6 a.m., while the teenagers were fast asleep in the tent, the peaceful night turned into a nightmare. Suddenly, an unknown attacker approached their campsite. The attacker quietly cut open the tent, catching the teenagers completely by surprise. Without warning, the attacker began a brutal assault. The teens, still half asleep and confused, had no chance to defend themselves. Who did this? Used a knife or a blunt instrument, or possibly a rock. Ermeli, Tuliki, and Sippo, they were killed, and the only survivor was Nils, who suffered serious facial injuries. They were stabbed and beaten to death on the head while they were inside the tent. Ermeli Björklund, her injuries were the most severe, indicating she had likely been the primary target. Nils woke up in a state of shock, his body aching and his mind confused. When he opened his eyes, he found himself outside the tent, surrounded by the quiet morning mist. He was badly injured, with cuts and bruises all over his body, and his head throbbing with pain, shaken and terrified. Nils struggled to make sense of what had happened. 11 a.m., their bodies were discovered by a man who was jogging and reported them to the police. When the police arrived at the scene, they were met with a horrifying sight. The once peaceful campsite on the shores of Lake Bodom was a scene of chaos and tragedy. The tent was ripped apart and blood stained the ground. The police quickly secured the area, trying to piece together what had happened. They took photographs, collected evidence, and searched for any clues that might lead them to the perpetrator. The investigators interviewed Nils after he woke up, trying to gather any information that could help to solve the mystery. They also spoke to local residents and searched the surrounding area for any signs of the perpetrator. But Nils claimed to have no memory of the attack, and he was still healing from his injuries and was very scared and confused. He couldn't remember much, which made it difficult for the police to find the perp. So, obviously, the investigators have to use a powerful technique might help them in the case, something called hypnotherapy. A method can sometimes help people recall lost memories. It might help Nils remember important details. During the process, Nils was asked to relax deeply and think back to the night of the incident. The therapists asked him to describe what he could see, hear, and feel. He said something more important. He described a random man as medium height, blonde hair, puffy lips, big eyes, and large jaw. This image was drawn up based on his description. So, who is this man? And is he the perpetrator? Till this day, we have no useful or good answer, but there is some various suspects have been named over the course of the investigation of the Lake Bodom murders. The following suspects are the most important. First one, called Valdemar Gillström, aka Kioskman. He was a well-known person around Lake Bodom. Because he owned a small shop, he had a reputation for being grumpy, especially towards campers who visited the area. Gillström didn't like the noise and disturbance they made, and sometimes behaved aggressively. The people in the town knew him was violent, with people who came to his street, or thieves who steals apples near his house. After the tragic murders at Lake Bodom, his odd behavior and some disturbing comments he made raised the high suspicions to the point of some people believed he might have been involved, even though there was no solid evidence against him. 9 years later, 1969, Valdemar committed suicide by drowning in Lake Bodom, which added another layer of mystery to the case. Some people believed his suicide was an admission of guilt. Others thought it might just be a tragic coincidence, although Valdemar Gillström remained a key suspect for many. This photo is from one of the victims' funeral. Shows an unknown mysterious man among the crowd, and his facial features bears a big resemblance to the image that Nils has described. The big eyes, the puffy lips, and of course, as you can see, the large jaw. A lot of people believe that this person is the second suspect, called Hans Assmann. Assmann was a mysterious man who became a key suspect in the Lake Bodom murders. He was a German immigrant living in Finland in a small tiny house with his wife. Known for his strange behavior, and his background was full of secrets. Rumors saying that he served the German army as a good soldier and he was a guard at Auschwitz. But all of this will stay as rumors. June 6, 1960, just one day after the murders, Assmann showed up at the Helsinki Surgical Hospital, claiming that he suffers from stomach pain, but doctors thought that he is faking his pain to get something he wants, and the nurse noticed that his fingernails black with dirt and his clothes covered in red stains. In another meaning, covered with blood. Worse than this, Assmann treated the hospital staff very bad and very aggressive. He refused to answer their questions about how he got injured, making it difficult for doctors and nurses to help him. His behavior towards them added the staff a very high suspicion that something was seriously wrong with him. Assmann raised some other red flags to the case. After seeing the news report about the murders, he quickly cuts his long blonde hair. The combination of his odd behavior, mysterious past, and the timing of his hospital visit kept Hans Assmann as a person of interest in the case. Many people believed that he maybe know more about the case. Despite these suspicions, there was never enough solid evidence to link him to the Lake Bodom slayings. Assmann denied any involvement in the murders, but his story remains a significant part of the enduring mystery. In 1997, the case is again being talked by the public, and a journalist randomly asked Assmann if he wants to talk about the case or give any information about it. Hans simply replied, "I won't say anything about the case. I'm innocent. Just leave me alone." After years of investigation without any new leads, the police decided to close the case. Despite their best efforts, they couldn't find enough evidence to solve the crime. The lack of witnesses made it impossible to move forward with the case. The crime remains unsolved until 2004, over 40 years after Seppo Boisman, Ermeli Björklund, Tuli Kimaki had been butchered. The sole survivor of the Lake Bodom murders became a hard suspect with solid evidence. Nils Gustafsson was arrested and charged with the murders of his friends. The news shocked everyone. Could the only survivor actually be the killer? Nils' trial began in 2005 as there is new evidence appeared. The prosecution was asking for life sentence for him. The claim was that the victim's blood was on his shoes, but his own blood was not. The investigator's explanation is that he killed his friends and then hid the shoes before returning to the tent, heated himself, and pretended to be one of the victims. The second claim was Ermeli Björklund was the perpetrator's main target. The only explanation for this brutality was the feeling of jealousy. It seems that Nils was angered by the flirting between Seppo and his girlfriend Elmari which resulted in him starting a fight with Seppo outside the tent, which ended with him killing his 3 friends. This would explain why Emily received more stops than her friends. Another virgin from the crowd who were around the campers said that Nils was argued with Emily, who maybe refused his proposal because she was in love with Seppo, so Nils was out of rage and wanted to revenge for his craziness of jealousy. With all of these arguments, in 2005, the judge determined that Nils should be cleared because of the poor condition of the evidence and the impossibility of him injuring himself with this type of injury. And his lawyer asks, it is because of love that a person disfigures his face or brutally beats himself with a rock to fake his innocence? Nils was cleared of all charges and said to the press after the trial, I don't remember anything from that nightmare, but all what I can say is that I'm innocent. How I could kill my friends. This was his last words till this day. No one has been arrested yet, and there are no suspects after Nils. In your opinion, is Nils Gustafsson or Valdemar Gistrom the kiosk man, or Hans Ansman, the German immigrant? One of them is the killer. Or did the killer get away with his crime because of the police mishandling the case? I know, it's so much complicated. The Lake Bodom murders are still one of Finland's most mysterious unsolved cases. Even with the new technology and investigations, the true killer was never found. This chilling story has inspired many books, movies, documentaries, and even metal bands over the years. People remain fascinated by the mystery and the tragic events that took place by the peaceful lake. At last, the true identity of the killer is still unknown. I will tell you this. Happy camping.